Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. Now let's start in Iraq, where supporters of Shia leader Muqtada al-Sadr have halted their occupation of Baghdad's Green Zone. An easy peace has fallen across the capital after 2 days of clashes between rival factions.
I still believe the Sadrist movement is obedient, and I ask that all movement members should withdraw within 60 minutes. You should even withdraw from the parliament. If you don't withdraw, I will abandon the Sadrist movement.
Minutes after Sadr made that speech on live television, footage of his supporters began circulating on social media, showing them leaving parliament and away from the Green Zone. Iraq's Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi hailed Sadr as a patriot and said the Shia cleric's call places a moral duty on all Iraqis to stop political violence and engage in dialogue.
Well, it's been a dramatic day in Baghdad, but as this feed coming into the newsroom shows us now, it's relatively calm vis-a-vis supporters leaving Baghdad's Green Zone. Well, earlier we saw RPGs and guns being fired as Monday's violence spilled over into Tuesday. Well, how did it all come to a stop? How did we get to this moment where people were walking away from Baghdad's Green Zone? Well, after powerful cleric Muqtada al-Sadr called for the protests to stop, he asked his supporters to evacuate within an hour, and well, that's exactly what they did. Lots of people have been reacting to it on Twitter. This person thanked both God and al-Sadr, claiming he saved Iraq. He hopes God will show mercy to those who died and heal the wounded. This user tweeted that peace is now upon Baghdad. But this Iraqi said the protests should have never turned violent and stayed peaceful instead, adding that Sadr's Sadrist movement should have never interfered. But whatever the political cost might be, there is also a human cost. Dozens have died during the 2 days of protests. This tweet has gone viral. It's the moment a father found out his son had died in the demonstrations. So the violence may have stopped, but what's next? Iraq is still in political turmoil. No party's been able to form a coalition since last year's election. While al-Sadr has quit politics for the time being, you wouldn't put it past him to make a comeback. He's done it before on numerous occasions. We'll have to watch this space to find out who Iraq's next leader will be.
And these pictures from Monday have gone viral. This is the swimming pool at the presidential palace, which protesters loyal to Sadr had stormed. Yup, and why not take a break from all the protesting and hot weather to enjoy a quick dip in the presidential pool to cool off? FYI, the temperature hit 46 degrees Celsius in Iraq on Monday. Catastrophic floods continue to wreak havoc in Pakistan. A third of the country is underwater. The South Asian nation is used to seeing floods during its monsoon season, but people on social media say that this time it's on another level. Just like journalist Joyce Karam here, the officials have described it as the worst flooding in over a decade. Well, these scenes that have been circulating online certainly look like they are from a dystopian movie, and they are indeed horrifying. The rains that began in June have claimed over 1,100 lives so far, washed away everything standing in their way, and forced over 33 million people out of their homes. Needless to say, Pakistan has declared a state of emergency and appealed for international help for the tens of millions affected by the catastrophe. Türkiye was among the first to respond. It sent 5 planes carrying tons of humanitarian aid on Monday, and on Tuesday, a train loaded with tents and food departed from the capital, Ankara.
A train full of humanitarian aid has recently left this train station in Ankara. It's headed for the flood-ridden country of Pakistan, where more than 1,000 people have lost their lives in floods since the middle of June, and millions have been displaced there. So Türkiye launched an emergency aid campaign for the country. The Turkish Red Crescent sent out a number of trucks, all carrying humanitarian aid. They tweeted photos of those trucks. The Red Crescent is also in cooperation with the Pakistani Red Crescent on the ground, making sure that people in need of food supplies get those food supplies. They tweeted photos of those as well. The Turkish Defense Ministry sent out 5 planes carrying humanitarian aid supplies, and they let us know what those planes were in a tweet as well. The Pakistani Foreign Ministry thanked Türkiye for all of its humanitarian efforts in a tweet. This train that just left was carrying about 500 tons of supplies. They are tents and blankets and food. Another train is expected to leave on Thursday.
Even those who are not physically affected by the floods in Pakistan are now feeling the impact. The disaster couldn't have come at a worse time for the country, as it was already struggling with an economic crisis. The rains have damaged vast swathes of rich agricultural land and crops, affecting particularly the most commonly used ingredients in Pakistani cuisine, onions and tomatoes. The prices of both have shot up by 40%. Pakistani politician Mustafa Nawaz Khokhar says Finance Ministry has done a great job of keeping the economy afloat, but there's still a lot that needs to be done. Finance Minister Miftah Ismail responded to Khokhar's comments on Twitter, saying the government is working hard already, but it'll take a Herculean effort to help the victims adequately. Meanwhile, writer Satish Kumar suggests that food prices can be stabilized through a trade deal with India. And according to investment forum Wall Street Silver, skyrocketing food prices have driven weekly inflation up to 42.5%, and many expect prices to climb further. Across Türkiye, children have been singing and people have taken to the streets in celebration. People across the country are celebrating Victory Day by carrying flags, singing the national anthem and visiting Ataturk's mausoleum in Ankara. Every year, the monument is inundated with people greeting Türkiye's founder. Andrew Hopkins has been covering the day's event in the capital.
Today is Victory Day in Türkiye, also known as Zafer Bayramı, and this is a day commemorating 100 years ago a battle between Turkish forces and Greek forces which Türkiye won, and it proved to be a decisive moment in the Turkish War of Independence. And that's why you can see on the TRT headquarters building behind me here in Ankara not only the Turkish flag but also an image of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. Now, he was the leader of the Turkish forces at that time and became the first president of the Turkish Republic when it was formed later. Now, traditionally on this day, the Turkish president, other political leaders will visit his mausoleum here in the capital, Ankara, and many people have been posting on social media, on Twitter, some messages about what's happening today. For instance, one of the most famous football clubs here in Türkiye, Beşiktaş, they said, "We are commemorating our heroes, especially Mustafa Kemal and his fellow soldiers." Also, Tarkan, one of the most famous singer-songwriters in the country, he said, "We're celebrating happy August the 30th Victory Day," and posted this photograph. The Turkish Armed Forces, they said, "We commemorate our martyrs, war veterans who sacrificed their lives and fought for our nation's freedom." And the Turkish First Lady, Emine Erdogan, she said that this day was a turning point in our fight for independence. Now, you can go anywhere in Türkiye today, not just here in Ankara, not just in Istanbul, and you will likely find marches taking place involving the military, also concerts, because this day was a particularly significant day in the development of the Turkish nation.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan also paid his respects at Ataturk's mausoleum. During this annual visit, the Turkish president walked side by side with various commanders of the Navy, Air Force, and Land Forces for one of the nation's most important days. Erdogan also placed a red and white garland symbolizing the nation's flag. He delivered a speech and paid respects to Ataturk. Meanwhile, underwater demolition commandos of the naval forces have performed a unique ceremony. They teamed up with some disabled citizens who dived down to the sea floor to unveil an enormous Turkish flag as a tribute to the 100th anniversary since victory. All right, on to what's trending. The last member of an uncontacted indigenous tribe in Brazil has died, much to the dismay of activists lamenting the loss of another ethnic language and culture. The man lived in complete isolation in the jungle for the past 26 years. The majority of his tribe was killed in the 1970s by ranchers. In 1995, the tribe's remaining 6 members were killed by illegal miners, making him the sole survivor. He was known to authorities as Man of the Hole because he dug deep holes, some to trap animals while others were hiding spaces. His body was found last week covered in bird feathers outside his hut. Indigenous experts believe he'd placed the feathers on himself, knowing he was about to die. It's thought he died of natural causes more than a month ago at around the age of 60. What a lonely death. And our next story, bored with your morning commute? Well, do I have the ride for you? All aboard the train to apocalypse. It's a zombie train ride inspired by hit South Korean film Train to Busan. Only this journey gives thrill seekers an adrenaline-filled ride across Jakarta. Officials launched the unique horror experience to promote public transport use among young people, and it seems to be doing the trick. Lots of young Indonesians have been posting clips of their journeys with the undead on the gram and TikTok. And if this ride is right up your alley, the Train to Apocalypse runs until September the 11th in the Indonesian capital. Tickets cost $4. This next story isn't a case of life imitating art, it's robots imitating art. Yup, artists are getting increasingly concerned about artificial intelligence copying their work amid the proliferation of AI programs that can replicate just about any art piece, even work from the masters. Andres Guadamuz, an international property law lecturer at the University of Sussex, is one of the many researchers that have been creating and studying AI-generated art. He's been using AI programs to look into the legal and ethical issues surrounding such artwork. Such programs are capable of churning out art on demand with text prompts and machine learning algorithms. And as you can see, some of the works look pretty legit. But while the art is nice to look at, many artists like Simon here are against the technology, saying it generates derivative artwork that you can't compare to genuine creations by humans. All right, those of us who own cats know for a fact that a slap from our furry friends can come at any moment. But not all attacks go viral on the internet like this one. Hussein Özkok, a guest on Turkish TV channel A-Spor, got smacked in the head by a cat while he was live on air. Needless to say, the cat stole the spotlight and quickly became internet famous. Now, this video has been shared millions of times, putting a smile on the face of everyone who's watched it. And that brings us to the end of today's newsfeed. You can find this show on our YouTube channel, which is Newsfeed TRT World. And do subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and let us know what stories you're keen to see on our show. Bye and see you same time tomorrow.